Today we're going to look at modularization in C++ using procedures and functions, and we'll look at how that can save us some work in the future. We're going to start with this simple program to draw a house. So I've already got that coded. We'll look at how it runs. So compile and run that, and that's all it does is draw a little house. And we're actually using a function that you may not have known we were using in past programs. We have this main function, and it's actually a declared type, so it's an integer. And since we declared main as an integer, we have to have a return type of 0. Okay, so we always have to have a main function in C++. Now, let's say we want to redo this, or we may want to call this at different times in the future. We're going to change up our program a bit, and first we're going to have a procedure declaration. So we're going to declare the procedure up here. So void is actually our data type, so it's actually going to be a procedure. Difference between procedures and functions: functions have to return a value, procedures do not. And so we're not actually returning a data type. We're going to say void, meaning our function called drawHouse is not going to return a value. Okay, so we've declared it. Now we need to actually code it. And so what I'm going to do is change our main function here, and we'll come back to that later. So in procedures in C++, we declare our procedure, our prototype it up here, and then we're going to actually define it with code down here. Okay, so we have almost a repeat of the declaration here. Notice no semicolon here, so we're just declaring the procedure, drawHouse, and this is our code. So we just copied the same code from our drawHouse. Procedures, just like functions, will have a return statement, but instead of returning an actual value, it'll be blank. So we'll just use return since it was declared void. If this was integer function, so int drawHouse, we would return 0 or return some numeric value. So we have our procedure defined. Now we need to call it from main. So we'll just call drawHouse. And so when we go through the main functions, we always start with main. We'll call drawHouse. It will jump down here and run the drawHouse procedure. Okay, so let's see. So in the end, when we compile and run this, it doesn't look that much different from the user perspective, but from our perspective, we can save a little work at this point. Okay, so let's see if we want to draw the house maybe 3 times. Instead of having to copy and paste the code, we're going to do a for loop here. So with a for loop, we're going to start with an integer value, our counter I equals 0, and as long as it's less than 3, so we'll go through the loop 3 times, and we'll increment by 1. Okay, and then let's put our braces on our for loop, so we'll surround drawHouse. So now we're going to call the drawHouse procedure 3 times, so we should get 3 houses out of this. Okay, and so you can see we did get 3 houses. So all we had to do is call that procedure 3 times. So we don't have to repeat that code ever. If we want a house drawn, we can just call that procedure. So that's hopefully kind of a simple example, but hopefully you can kind of see the potential here of being able to store some code and call it by name.